the Star Spangled Banner.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the
How about that opener? If you are listening to the podcast version of our show, as most of you do, Brian put together a cool mashup with the USA versus Mexico national anthem that honestly gave anyone inside or outside of the stadium Friday night chills when they saw it. Good job, Brian, on that. You are listening to Season 6, season finale of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I'm your host, Boston Brazel. And 2021 didn't let Cincinnati soccer scene go out with a whimper. No, our lost season gave birth to one of the top sporting events I have ever attended in my life. I have been to home run derbies, big NFL matchups, huge collection of college football stadiums, and I have never seen a happier, more energized bunch of Americans than I saw on Friday. If you're a regular of this show, you have heard us say over and over that this would be big. We were not embellishing or overselling the event. If anything, it still caught us by surprise. And all of you that attended know exactly what I'm talking about. I no longer care about the price or a long line. I'm just happy I was there. Some of you joined us at noon for the CST live show, and thank you for making that a special and very cool event. You packed the inside of Ryan House or listened and drank outside on the street, and I hope you enjoyed starting the event with us. And thanks to Ryan House, the AO chapters, our sponsor SwearOX, the audience, and anyone else that had a hand in making that happen. I had very little to do with it. Our live show experts, Brad and Brian Weigel, did the hard labor, and let me bring on the twin that has been hitting home runs behind the scenes to make this show more enjoyable for all of us and you. How you feeling, Bri?
Not very good still, buddy. We're still coming back. Voice was coming back. So we'll see.
That voice. Anyone who listens to our show is used to this strong Bri voice. Boy, I don't know what that is that you have currently.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounded like a rubber chicken, and then yesterday it sounded like the dad from Bluey, and now it's this. So we're coming back, man. But such a great time down at Ryan House. Thanks to Aaron and that group down there, and it's just a super special event to make what was just an incredible day even better. So just appreciate the great institution that is Ryan House letting us be involved.
Yeah, it was a good time. I loved seeing everybody. We appreciate your hard work. I guess I should transition into another guy that has been putting in the shifts. Jeff, you got to see that match as press. Was it as oppressive up there as it was downstairs where we were?
Well, I mean, they caught us off guard a little bit with the openers there. I don't know how many people were listening to the podcast who were at the game, but they turned off almost all the lights pregame, and then all of the lights turned on everybody's little wristbands there. And from our perspective, it looked incredible. I think they knocked it out of the park for the opener there. And you could definitely feel from even that spot that you were going to get an impressive game.
Yep. I appreciate everything you did up there. And then from the Bailey, we had Mr. working with groups in U.S. soccer to make that day special for all of us. Bill, give us the report from the trenches.
Oh, controlled chaos. It was like riding a bull, I would say. You just get on and hold on for dear life. But no, it was a blast. I've never felt the entire stadium responding to what we were doing as much as that. It was just an incredible feeling. So.
Yeah, I've heard similar reports from other capos that were out there. I think we have a couple of them in chat tonight. Would love to hear their takes on how it felt from their spots as well. We have a bonus guest tonight. We saw an old colleague of ours at the CST live show and said, what the heck? It's a season finale. Come on back to CST. We're just going to have a good time tonight. Welcome to our former editor, Mr. Rod Pierce.
Hello. Yes, I guess I'm alumni. So Friday kind of felt like a homecoming. It felt a lot like a homecoming. And as you may be able to tell, I'm trying to get my voice back, kind of like Brian is. I didn't get a chance to see the national guys. I didn't make it out to any of the pre-match day festivities, but that's okay. It was just great to see all you CSTers at Ryan House and some of our supporters for the show. I guess it takes witnessing a Dos A Cero in person to get me to come back on. What was it?
Did you end up getting something a little stronger in that sweatshirt you were just wearing?
I thought we requested all of our T-shirts back when you leave the show. So I'm wondering how he still has that shirt.
Yeah.
But no, we appreciate everything you did while you were here, and thanks for coming back. It's nice to. I know we got to see a little bit of each other at the USA game, and it was a good time, sir. You can get in touch with us. You can, of course, chat with us during the show. We'll throw up some of your best comments while you're on. You can tweet at us at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com or email us always feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. I cut somebody off in traffic the other day. I kid you not, and they emailed into feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. So it's a good spot for that as well. Our show, of course, is sponsored by SweroX. You can rehydrate with the new SweroX, 0 sugar, 0 calories, and they are giving all of you a 20% off promo code. If you were at our show, they gave you free drinks to try, and the promo code, if you want to head over to Amazon, Suerox, SUEROX USA 2021 2021 will get you 20% off. So thanks to them for that. And we normally do a segment on our show called Best and Worst. Well, I just don't think it's possible to have a worst this week, so we're switching it up. We're going to go best and better, and I think we'll start with you, Bri.
Oh, man. I think the people is what was my best of the week. Just getting to see like guys from Bethlehem Steel fans that I got to meet 5-6 years ago at a USA versus Guatemala match, and seeing them, and then just experiencing like the guys at AO Cincy and just the incredible amount of work that these great people did. So I think, the people is my best. Better is experiencing the event with my friends like Rob and Bill and Jeff and Boston, my brother, Joe, my buddy Joe flew in from Philly. Just amazing to experience that with you guys. Such a momentous event. And to cap it all off, and this is kind of interesting, after we won, we all sat in the stands for like 30-40 minutes and just kept soaking it all in. And then we're like, so where do we celebrate? So we had to figure that out, and we ventured down to Boston's favorite digs and Wise Guys. So we're slowly learning what to do after games at TQL Stadium. Oh no, Boston! There you go.
I somehow missed the invite. I'm still upset about that.
There you go.
Well, Jeff, you always do this in reverse, right?
Well, I can do a special order here because I do have a worst, unfortunately. I know you weren't asking for it, but the worst one is the fact that I couldn't get drunk while you guys did.
Oh, yeah, that is pretty bad.
I didn't have a single drop of alcohol, but that didn't make the experience any less worse. So,
Well, you look
uh,
sharp though.
well, I looked all right. I described myself as Raj Bennett with hair. Um, the way that the picture was taken. But getting on to what my better and bests were, the better I'd say was from a performance standpoint, this was a complete 180 from what we saw with the Panama loss. It was good that, the one loss that we had on the road, we were able to shove it underneath the rug and just recover from that. We looked so good in the middle. I mean, lock in Musa, lock in McKennie, lock in Adams. That's your midfield for at least the next two cycles. I really like the performance there. Musa himself has matured beyond his years there. He looked like he had so many steps ahead of Mexico. And my best, I'm actually going to give it to Walker Zimmerman. He was not my man of the match, but boy, he looked so comfortable for a guy that was like a late call in the last cycle. He punched forward a lot to sort of cancel out some of the advances forward. He would always take out maybe the striker so that the other two forwards could be then nullified by the rest of the back line. He looked so confident, and it looked like we didn't miss John Brooks at all in that game.
We'll leave it to Jeff to talk about actual soccer. Meanwhile, I was just impressed by how many fireworks we set off. So thanks for bringing it back around, Jeff. Rob, best and better.
For my best, I will say that we got to celebrate another soccer holiday in our own backyard. We've had them before, right, for a few different occasions, but this time the whole country got to celebrate with us. I think it was Pat Brennan that reported before the game that there are people from all 50 states that were expected to come to the game, so that was pretty cool. I got downtown a little early Friday morning, was drinking some coffee at Coffee Emporium, and that's when it kind of hit me how special this day was going to be, and it did not disappoint. For my better, I will say that we were there to see the match, so that's my better, the match itself, all of it, from the anthem, the montage you just saw, to chanting Mexico off the pitch, and all of it in between. And aside from the festivities, the U.S. was the better team, and it really wasn't even that close after about the first half hour. I'm a little bummed that I missed Pulisic's goal and the man in the mirror moment. That celebration happened directly in front of where I would have been sitting had I not been in line for the bathroom. We might be talking about that, the lines and stuff like that a little later. If I had to give it worse, that would be it. But I did get to see McKennie's goal. That was really neat. So it cancels everything out. And it had to be Dos A Cero, right? There was no other score line it was going to be.
I'm really glad he scored, even though you're in the bathroom, Rob.
Oh, I am too.
Bill, could you see much of the match from where you were? I know your main job was keeping everything going, but give us your best and better.
Yeah, I could see enough. It was a different perspective this game, partly because we had a few more drummers than we're used to having on the drum platform, and also the bleachers were up in this game. And of course, like our experiences in Nippert, everybody stands on them rather than, standing on solid ground. So everybody was about, a foot and a half taller than they should have been. So it was definitely interesting as far as the positionings of people. But yeah, I could see enough. But as far as my best, I would just say, if I dial it back to FCC a little bit, we've taken a lot of crap for the last 3 years because we haven't really put our attention on the product on the field. Jeff, even at some point when we, were making some changes, mentioned the fact that he focused on the stadium. He focused on the training facility. He didn't get the GM in place soon enough, and that was on him. It's fair enough. But this weekend, we got to see what that bought us, and the fact that we have that infrastructure in place, that we have this shining jewel of a stadium, we have this world-class training facility. We put it in OTR, right, or West End, but OTR adjacent, and all these things that came together that we managed to get this facility up. really showed off our city, showed it off to U.S. Soccer, showed it off to the whole country. And I think that was the best for me, was that, that infrastructure that we created really shined in this event. And, we can fire GMs and we can fire coaches, and we just did, and the pitch can change, but that stadium's going to be around for 30 years. And so it's good that it's top notch. So and then my better for me, that was just the fact that AO National, AO Cincinnati, the FCC SGs, we all worked together. This wasn't, like an event where they came in and they ran the thing. It wasn't an event where we just kind of made it up as we went. There was a lot of collaboration. There were Zoom calls beforehand. There was a lot of conversations with AO National and AO Cincy, especially to make sure that we leveraged the capabilities we had here. But then, followed the guidelines and the needs that they had. And I think that was a good relationship. I mean, I'm not saying it went smooth. There was definitely issues. For sure, there was, some stressful moments and some, problems and such. But in general, if I back up and I try to not to get down to the picky nitty gritty stuff, it was a good relationship. And there are for sure people with AO National that, I would, if I saw them, somewhere else, I'd go up and give them a hug, because, we put on a heck of an event. They were part of it. We were part of it. And I think that collaboration is what made this event as strong as it was.
Yeah, Bill, I think you touched on some key subjects there. That's also partly in my better, so I'm just going to go straight into that. I got a nice taste, a nice reminder of what the Cincinnati soccer community can do when we all put our best minds and strive towards a common goal. And not to say we haven't done that in the last few years. I think we've created some really, really cool things, but man, I'm talking like everybody was putting forth a lot of effort into making this thing happen, whether you're a supporter member, whether you just came out to paint, whether you were trying to do something on game day to make the environment just a little bit better for a fellow Cincinnatian or traveler that was coming down. Everybody just hit home runs. I talked to Mexico fans that couldn't even believe how well done everything was, how friendly people were, and the community as a whole, I mean, really hit a home run on Friday. And so just congratulations to everybody involved, everybody who attended the game, people that just came down and didn't have tickets and went to the bar and just partied in the streets. I mean, good on you. And I think you all rocked it. My best is, of course, Zico Bailey. Where would we be without him? Oh man, I guess
You're nothing if not consistent.
I'm sorry. I've never changed this. I've never changed this line in our rundown for the last 2 months. So it messed me up that there wasn't a Zico Bailey. I apologize, listener. But I had to say it. Just
if we had lost on Mexico against Mexico, we would have been able to blame the Zico Bailey pick week in and week out. But we'll forgive you.
Is that what was in your worst? Just in case.
No, maybe.
Well, it didn't happen. Everything was perfect, Jeff, except for your inability to drink alcohol. Yeah, that was our only worst here.
Well, at least you didn't have to wait in line in the bathroom then, though, Jeff.
Well, let's quickly jump into everybody's pre-match. I just kind of want to know, we all were, a lot of us were together for the CST live show, but that was at noon. And a lot of people came out and saw us. Thank you. If you were there, if you couldn't make it down, you had to work or whatever, we totally understand. We had a good time without you, but we wish you were there. We all kind of went our separate ways from there. Some of us met up again later. What was your big pre-game activity, Bri? You started at noon. Did you go take a nap?
I should have. No, we left the house about 9:30 to get down to Ryan House and set up and had a great time there. And then we, I guess we went over to Taglio, had some good pizza. Never had Taglio before. Very good pizza. Definitely gonna do that again. And checked in the hotel. We got a hotel room that night. And then I think we just kind of saw how things were going. And we ended up over at Taft's for, I don't know, 3-4 hours. We got a huge table, had a group of 8 of us, and had a great time down there. So that was, I don't know if you guys saw the pictures of Brendan Hunt with like 5 dudes and like American boxing outfits, but those guys were at Taft's partying hard beforehand. So it was a good time.
Did any of you make it to Northern Road? Because I've heard like Cincinnatians just drank Northern Road dry. Bill, give me. I have to hear that story.
Well, I mean, if I just talk about the day in general, I mean, basically, I about 11 o'clock headed over to the stadium because I had to do setup. So we had to get the drums set up, and that's a whole story. But yeah, there was some special stuff going on with the drums. So we got over there. It took about 2 hours for me to get done with the drums, also the PA system and everything. And then I took off out of there. I actually went to the grocery store. I know that's exciting, but my son was coming in from out of town and we were out of groceries. So, needed to get some food. And then I basically, went over to Northern Row probably around 4:30. And at that point, I waited in line for about a half an hour to 40 minutes to get in the door. So it was at capacity. So it was a one in, one out type of scenario. People were there. They had 3 bars outside. So people were sending their friends out to go get beers so they could drink while they were in line to get inside to buy more beer. So yeah, I think they we talked to them and they had a very good night. It was sort of like a one night. It was equivalent to a week's worth of business for them. They had kegs stacked out all over the place in their storage area, to be recycled or whatever. But I think they said they sold almost 3,000 pints of beer and 600 or so the tall boys. So yeah, it was a lot of alcohol flowing, probably straight through. But you know how that works.
Yeah, I saw about 4 or 5 o'clock a post on the city of Cincinnati Reddit page where non-soccer fans were just like, what is going on downtown? Like they had no idea, apparently had missed the news. And they were just like, I was planning on going out after work, but the streets are just full. The bar's full. I don't know where to go. Traffic's nuts. What's going on? And people were like, that's USA, Mexico, you idiot. Where you been?
Yeah. What hole were you been in?
It made me smile just seeing all that. And it was packed. The next day, bars had to kind of quietly remind people that there was a big event the night before, not just US Mexico, which obviously was the main thing, but UC had played right before that as well. So You're talking about a lot of slow opening bars the next day or restocking facilities.
Empty bars.
Yeah, it was.
Dust is coming out when they pulled in.
That's right. We partied hard downtown. Rob Pierce, wow, you were at the CST show. What'd you do afterwards?
Afterwards, I was going to the game with a buddy of mine, but he wasn't getting off work until later in the afternoon. So I tagged along with the Weigels, Taglios, and I can concur. Excellent pizza, and then over to.
Did you guys get the Detroit style, or did you guys get the regular
Detroit style?
Detroit. Oh, okay.
I got the regular.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Yeah, I like the Detroit. Sorry, we're on. I'm just curious. Go ahead.
Oh, you're all good. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but
the hot honey and pepperoni, I think, is what I had. Fantastic.
Yeah. No, I do know what that is.
I've heard really nice things about that.
I can recommend. And then after that, we went to Taft's, and like Brian said, we had a big table, and just being at the table was fun. And then the bar was like Northern Road, I'm sure pretty much everywhere else, packed, and it felt like pre-COVID times, honestly. But I'm vaccinated, so
yeah, it did feel like normal, kind of back to normal a little bit. So that was a fun part of it.
And then,
I was gonna say, if I could do one more shout out to Taglios, I thought you were at a break, but I just wanted to say, they are really cool, and not just good pizza, but they actually donated pizza both times when we were in doing tifo painting.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So, I mean, like they were feeding all of the supporters who showed up to do tifos, and the first time so many people showed up that they said, "Oh, well, we'll give you more pizzas the second time." So, I mean, they were really very generous. So worthy of a note.
Cool.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but
and then we left Taft's and caught the tail end of the march in. So.
Yeah, we got to talk about that game. Doug Hahn on Facebook has said, talk about the national anthem. Loudest thing I ever heard. We opened the show with it. Bri, you've been to US Mexico games. You took me to US Mexico. What did you think about that? I mean, that was a performance.
Well, especially after the live anthem that we had the last home game of the season, that definitely was substantially better. Uh,
That was
credit,
the prep work.
I don't know, man. That kid who sang was just out of this world. And then I think I don't know what it was about his voice and his cadence, but the whole crowd just kind of like grew with it. And then at the end of it, the crescendo and the fireworks and everything was just incredible. Best. So I'm going to say this, kind of piggybacking off of Doug's comment. Everything that was great about this game was like bad. The last Dos A Cero game in Columbus, like the pre-match, like introductions, like they had the stupid card trick and nobody made noise. That place was rocking with the DJ or whatever lead and stuff. That kind of corny, but also freaking cool. The anthem, I mean, I don't know how if it's the sounds in TQL, it just makes it better. But that it just was just deafening in there, and you could see it visibly affect the players on the pitch, and I've never seen that before. So yeah, I think that helped set quite the tone, coupled with like the light show and on the wristbands and all that stuff, which is out of this world too. But man, I mean that production of that game, especially even before kicking the ball in the field, was just as big as any sporting event I've ever been to. Better than the All-Star game, and I've never been to the Super Bowl, but I mean, it's just it had that whole place rocking and roaring and ready to go, and that was just like the tipping point of game on. Go USA is what I said at the live show. But yeah, man, it was amazing.
Home
Yeah,
crowd advantage, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it
truly a home
really
crowd advantage.
truly was. And anytime people try to go Mexico, that it was drowned out. And I've been to 3 Dos A Cero games, and even in Columbus, that was really hard to shout down, and it was just incredible in TQL.
We not only sang the anthem together, we experienced the anthem together.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people also, stemming from that a little bit, at halftime, I believe they had a World War II vet, Pete Dupree, performing on the big screen, God Bless America, with a harmonica. And that, more than anything, brought a tear to my eye. I thought it was very touching, especially considering that the day before was Veterans Day. I thought that it just tied everything together perfectly. And I feel that after halftime came and went, everybody was reset. The energy was back, and it probably kept the crowd in it during those other 2 goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crowd had absolutely no problem. I think that this was one of the matches I've seen pretty much the entire stadium stand on their feet for 90 minutes. U.S. Open Cup, maybe the other one. David Moore said wasn't Sheo banging on the post to try to get his defender's attention during the free kick. Yeah, because I think this was the match that the Mexico players were a little bit disjointed, and the crowd had a lot to do with that. And then if you were a USA player, how could you not be hyped with that many people really having your back? Absolutely great match. Brian, I agree. It's on par with the production value alone. And I know this has a lot to do with Bill's group, AO group, because it was a natural feel. It wasn't just like the wristbands were awesome. The last time I've seen that done was a Taylor Swift concert with like 80,000 people. So that was top-notch production value. That was the more artificial part, but the really just the natural part, the tifos, the drums, the feeling. The national anthem was not planned. Like that was us in the moment. So that was really cool. Bill, I saw a halftime tifo and a pre-match tifo. Was all of that gone as planned?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, maybe not. But the halftime was not AO. That's like U.S. Soccer. Something they did.
Okay.
So don't really know much about that, but it was something they wanted done. And then the pregame tifo was supposed to be on the rigging, and we just didn't get it pulled off. I don't want to get into the details. There was a lot of things that happened that kind of screwed that up. But in the end, we were able to, we planned because it was going to be one of the first big ones we'd ever try on a rigging. So we had it planned. If it didn't work, we just put it overhead. I think it actually worked out fine. So
Yeah, I
as far as
totally
the TIFO quality, it turned out great. And a nice fun wrestling motif, and we like to be creative, so it was fun. It's fun to paint. So.
I'll say this about the Bailey, because I sat opposite the Bailey. I thought that traditionally when you see games, it's like they start out strong and then they kind of peter off. And I think it was the exact opposite. I mean, they started pretty strong, but I mean, my goodness, by the end of that game, man, the Bailey was just incredible, and the drums, and it's like they were kind of, the Bailey, I think, was the cheapest ticket. I'm sure people kind of went after that cheapest ticket, but you could tell, like, at the end, even with all the new people involved, that they just got stronger and stronger and better. And it was out of this world. And it's another point, like, just can't wait till we get good. The FC Cincinnati gets good and we can experience that.
Yeah, I had the same feeling. Our time's coming. Let's get into the game. Jeff, you were writing. You were up there in the box. When did you feel the moment the match was shifting in USA's favor? I
feel that the first half, it was basically 50-50. You could look at the stats and say there's no team that has the advantage or disadvantage. It felt like Stefan was really keeping this game 0-0 in the first half, and then the team started to turn things around a little bit. But I feel that things really didn't turn around until you got a little bit of that tussling, I think in the 68th, 69th minute, where Aronson went down, and I think Luis Rodriguez came up and sort of poked the bear a little bit, literally putting his fingers in Aronson's face, trying to get the ball, after the foul. And, yellow cards were flying. I'm sure there were some 4-letter words that were in both languages. And I think at that point, you could sort of tell that things are going to shift. I mean, Pulisic was starting to warm up, and they made the sub. And from there, it felt like the U.S. had their game plan in stone. Timothy Way was having an incredible game over on the side. All he needed was someone who was able to cut in and get the pass. And really, Pulisic came in. That was his only job, I think, was to attack the near post when that cross came through. Did he get suspended or any kind of discipline after the fact for that? Are we talking about Mexico?
Right back.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any information on that. I think there were a lot of people that were saying it should be a red card because he poked the bear a little bit there. But I think there's no VAR, I think, in this game. So
no.
Basically, you had to really go with what you could see. The only complaint I have is that it squeezed a second yellow out of McKennie, but he probably wasn't going to play that game tomorrow in Jamaica anyways. So I say no harm, no foul.
We talked a lot before the match about how this was a big one because if the U.S. somehow would slip against Mexico, then Jamaica becomes a bigger deal. And so much before the game was all about that kind of decision. So now that it's over, now that the United States has beat Mexico, USA's first in the octagonal, heading down to Jamaica, how do you feel now? Like, much better? As far as the next game.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, we're top of the table. So anytime you're in the top three, you feel good. No, I think, kind of to Jeff's point, talk a little bit more about the game, just a minute, but we haven't seen it all year with a home side besides the women just dominate. And I think the team grew and grew and grew in the match. And I think the moment changed a little bit earlier than what Jeff said, when Tecatito Corona missed his, I guess, golden chance. I think he had about his best opportunity in the first 30-40 minutes. And you just kind of saw, okay, we got lucky. Let's regroup. And then you saw Musa get really comfortable on the ball. You saw Weah get really creative. And I think that's kind of when they took over. And how many times did we say it on the pregame show, Jeff? Like, if we can get through the first 45 minutes unscathed, that's gravy because you've seen it in every freaking win the U.S. has had is second half team, make the adjustments, and boom. And you saw Tyler Adams play better in the second half. You saw Weston McKennie play better in the second half. And you have to remember, like, how many of these guys are older than like the age of 22, 23? Not many of them. And the young guys played like men. So that was something really cool to see, and something I think we all like. I remember being in the building when Pulisic made his debut in Columbus versus Guatemala, and that to me stood out like that was the day. Like this past week, of course, man and mirror with Pulisic, but Musa and Weah coming out party was to me the big thing on that game.
Yeah, I'd say there was a lot of coming out parties there. Walker Zimmerman came out. I think we saw the reintroduction of Zach Steffen. There was do you play Matt Turner, who's the better goaltender? Do you play Zach Steffen, who's better with his feet? Steffen not only, I think, distributed the ball really well, especially up the middle when he was sort of being crushed on both sides by the top three from Mexico. But you saw, he had flashes of brilliance. We was able to just tip the ball just enough that the shots on net really didn't harm anything.
Yeah, a lot of guys earned their stars and stripes, so to speak, against the big boys of Mexico. I'm like Brian. For me, the game kind of changed right around maybe the 35th minute or so. Way started to come alive. He was my man of the match. Did some great things down the wing. But yeah, a lot of them grew up. So there's no McKennie and there's no, I forget which Robinson is out now.
Miles Robinson.
All right.
Center back.
But I'm not too worried against Jamaica. You get a draw that with the Mexico win. That's gravy.
Yeah, the big national guys were all. Steffen was the big criticism, I guess, of the roster. So I kind of love that you guys touched on that because so many people wondered if that was the right move. I think he said it doesn't matter, and that's kind of a cool period just to put on there. Like, if I'm in the game, you don't need to worry. And he did. He had a couple great saves. He had a couple outstretched balls. I think Brian had one of them in the intro. That was one of my favorite plays, just to see him dive like that and just kind of shut up the haters and realize the United States will be okay with him in goal. And it's great. It's great to have two good goalkeepers you can rely on.
Yeah. Was this Greg Berhalter's first win in Cincinnati?
Yes, it was.
I think it was. Wow. Got a couple ghosts out of the shed here with that game.
Yeah, for any team.
Yeah. So
not only was it a statement win, the third win in a row, first time and really a long time since the United States has done that. Three times in 1 year. And I saw a Mexico fan on the La Liga sub just say, if the U.S. beats us three times in a year, we have to admit our program is not as good. And it was just kind of cool.
Well, we're a matchup nightmare for them, to be frank. I do want to share this story though, and Brad has a Cruel Azul jersey now as part of this. So we were actually surrounded by 4 Mexican fans behind us and 4 to our left, and they were great people. Very had fun interactions with them all day, but it shows you like those fans are some of my favorite fans in interacting with them. And in a fun, but still like, okay, you're still kind of the quote unquote enemy. It had a different vibe than 5 years ago, to be sure. But we talked to this family behind us, and they had the guy, his basically a month's worth of paychecks. He bought 4 lower level seats for him, I think his brother, and then his 20-year-old son and nephew maybe. And they sat behind us, and the game meant so much to those guys. And when that second goal came in, and we were going crazy chanting Dos A Cero, and it kind of broke my heart. Like, I turned around and looked at the kid, and he's legitimately 20-year-old kid crying. Like, it just meant so much to him. And I hope we can get to that point as a soccer culture in the city and in our country where these are live and die games. I just thought that was cool and just kind of a revelation of what the sport means. We had another cool experience where I think this kid was 6 years old, and he's wearing a Mexico winter cap. And Brad joked to him like, "Hey, want to switch caps because he had a Stars and Stripes?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, I do. I really want your hat." And so like Brad had to wear a Mexico hat the whole game. I gave him my AO Cincy, this little kid, the AO Cincy scarf, and so like you could tell like his dad's like, "What the hell?" And like, they're all in like Mexico gear and like the garb, and his son's in USA gear just made my day. But just little cool experiences like that, man, made the game just a whole another I don't know, man, just an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was a good night, I think, for most people involved. Like you said, if you're a Mexico fan, if you're a diehard Mexico fan, probably was a pretty painful night. But I sat through this match in Columbus 5 years ago and went through the same thing. So I'm just not willing to concede my feelings too much.
I don't think we're ever like, I mean, there's still the measuring stick that Mexico is, in my opinion, but like we're just, there are different times in the program. Like they're aging out some players, and we have young kids who are overperforming, and that's super cool to see. Well, now we'll see what they do in Jamaica in front of 5,000 fans on Tuesday at 5:00 in the afternoon.
Gonna have to get hyped.
Yeah.
Our show, by and large, is supported by our fans, and we get sponsors, but the legwork is done by you all. And we are looking to make 2022 even better. And so CST is free, of course, for everybody watching, listening. But there are those that give to make it so, and we want to give a special shout out to them. Ree Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stephen, Laura Failer, Matthew Adamchek, Buddy Taylor, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Elbers, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Augustus Caceres, Bill Antonitis, Carl Feit, Jeremy Schrand, Kyle Pohl, Christina Sharma, Rupesh, Mike Hudson, Tom Bezeldorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, West Anastasi, Rob Pierce, and Clifford Adams. Thanks so much for your support. And you, of course, can support us on CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support or Patreon if your heart so desires, if the USA inspired you, and our voices have as well.
Yeah, and just to clarify something there, also great job, Boston, has the best name pronunciation you've done there. I think if you guys came out to see our live show and saw all the equipment, and you didn't even get to see our speaker system and everything, and that's really like, we don't take money for ourselves. Like, we try to put it back into the show. Of course, we bought all that stuff like January of 2019, so that, or 2020, so that was a great great timing. But I mean, we try to do stuff like this, and we're gonna try to do more as we kind of come back here. And I know we partner with Buffalo Wings and Rings several times. So yeah, if you guys have a spot where you'd love to see us, or hell maybe come out and do a weekend show in January, February, I mean, let us know. We'd love to come out and do more things and get involved, and just kind of get back to what we used to do when we started CST. It was a place where everybody could come and meet each other, and that's that's kind of where I'd like to see us going. And it does take a lot of money sometimes, and we appreciate all you people that support us.
Here I was worried Brian Weigel burnt himself out this weekend, but he's volunteering to do more shows, so take him up on the offer.
Yeah, gotta love it.
I think everyone in the national media agrees Cincinnati just freaking killed it on Friday. So I really want to, real quick, I want to talk about something we touched on a couple weeks ago, which was, did Cincinnati just put themselves in, with that performance, with that showing, with that much of a home field advantage, did they kind of vault themselves to the top of a list for important matches, do you think, Rob?
I think it's definitely possible. The city put on a show. That's for absolute sure. You have to give Columbus their due for all the years that they've been a part of this. They've played their part, but it really is interesting to think that the tide may have shifted down I-71.
Well, they set the roadmap for how to do this, and I think we in certain ways improved on it. And I cannot imagine. I mean, yeah, you're going to have a brand new facility in Nashville, brand new facility in St. Louis. Of course, we're not going to have a USA Mexico qualifier for
Long time.
a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Cincinnati will absolutely be, top 3-5 on that list until, proven otherwise.
Clifford Adams has it in a question form. Clifford, I also have it in our show notes. Does Friday support showing influence the World Cup bid? I want to ask Bill this because I'm not sure if you have inside knowledge or just your own personal opinion, but FIFA, do you think FIFA pays attention to this kind of, level or scale of things? And they haven't made their final decisions yet.
I think they 100% do, right? And certainly Cincinnati has some deficiencies that they have to get past, and those have been widely discussed at different times. But I think the one thing that we do have is the ability to put on a show, and even integrate with outside sources and things. So I think it did. It made a difference. I don't know that it's a home run, so to speak, because it is such a different thing. I mean, if we get, 4 teams doing some group stage stuff in Cincinnati, the U.S. isn't involved. I think it's a different look for us. I don't know that it quite pans out in the same way, but so that's what FIFA deals with. But aside from World Cup, I think we 100% vaulted ourselves to the top of the list as far as U.S. soccer is concerned. I mean, we absolutely showed them what we can do for a home field advantage for a game. And I they might be wondering, why they didn't give us some Gold Cup games earlier. But that's on them. So, next time I would say in a couple years,
I'll trade that Gold Cup semifinal for USA Mexico any day of the week.
100%.
Any day of the week.
100%.
I mean, I heard people. I hate the conversation that people have, like, oh, we should have stayed in USL and things like that. And this validated everything. Yes, it stinks to lose for 3 seasons, but we would never be in this position if we weren't in the top flight in the United States. And the vision of Birding, the money of Lindner and Meg Whitman, and then the passion of us, thousands and thousands of fans in Cincinnati, made this happen. So it was pretty neat. I think FIFA is stupid not to come to Cincinnati. I really, yes. I mean, there's things that we could do, I'm sure, in mass transportation, but people were on that streetcar going everywhere, touring the city that had never been a part of anything Cincinnati. Like we met up with this couple from DC, and they're like, this place is incredible and it's easy to get around. We're like, what? But it was just kind of cool seeing that outside perspective. So yeah, I really think that it impressed everybody. And then everybody who came in, like AO wise, I'm sure Bill, you could probably speak to it, really left with a really positive outlook, except for the bathrooms of Cincinnati.
Yeah. There were some people complaining about, transportation from the airport, for instance, right? You're relying on taxis and things like that. And I think, we had such a huge volume of people come in that they weren't prepared and such. So there's some faults for sure and things that we could do better, but no, I mean, without a doubt, we proved that we can put on a big event. We proved that the soccer support within the city takes this stuff serious and wants the city to look good. I will say, what I've heard from my sources is that U.S. Soccer walked away from this basically saying, we'll be back. We can't wait to be back. So, I mean, we definitely did ourselves proud. And we're going to see U.S. Soccer back. There's no doubt about that at all. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Bill. When I think of this question, I kind of will go back to an analogy. It was kind of like the 2017 U.S. Open Cup run. I think that run got FC Cincinnati into MLS, and it kind of gives me the same kind of feeling that maybe this game, maybe not on its own, but if kind of like Brian was saying, if the World Cup committee wasn't watching this, they're stupid, I guess. And hopefully this kind of leaves them with a positive impression that Cincinnati can be, the part of the international spotlight, let alone the national spotlight.
Not only that, we did it with a high-priced event, really. One of the knocks I saw early on, and I think this has been clearly exposed as fraud, but was that the Cincinnati wouldn't do well with high ticket prices because we're a Midwestern city, affordable city, etc. But I think this just proves, and I don't know where they get that anyway. We pay through the nose for Bengals tickets, and they're terrible. But Cincinnatians, I think, proved that they get up for the big matches, and they've already proved it with the U.S. women filling that stadium twice for the women's matches, filling it for USA versus Venezuela, and that meant absolutely nothing. And go into that match, besides the fact that it was cool. Like, we went because it was cool, but like in the scheme of things, it was just a friendly. And then of course this one matters, but tickets, yeah, well, I think we showed we will pay for the big ones, and now that's not an excuse to just raise prices, U.S. Soccer, because I know you guys are listening to our humble show, but Cincinnati, I think, hit a home run. Jeff, you've been awful quiet.
Well, I mean, I do want to, I'm always known for like throwing cold water on the subject, and as much as I think we do look at this performance with rose-colored glasses, we do still have a lot to do to convince people that Cincinnati is a viable spot to host even a minor game on the road to the World Cup. You look at some of the places that they consider locks, and then the places that are dark horses that they consider just above us: Baltimore, Nashville, even Orlando. I think this game helped us push past those three sites in terms of us or them being able to host something. But we still have, places like Washington, D.C., Houston, Philadelphia, markets which are much bigger and can, get bigger capacities, have some local diverse cultures that would, flood the arena when it comes to maybe a team that they are really passionate about coming to that spot. So we've got a lot of work to do. We can't rest on our laurels. We have to keep showing up and convincing people that Cincinnati is meant to do this in 2026.
That's right. Use some of that infrastructure bill money.
Hey,
as political as it
that
gets.
new
here.
bridge, baby. Come on.
The Brent Spence is back up to 4 lanes, so maybe things are looking up.
Dude, that was the fastest I've been to the airport or Kentucky in like 2 years. It was incredible.
I think really the only thing in Cincinnati's way the next 10 years, as far as big, giant soccer events, is St. Louis and Nashville, because Nashville was smart enough to build a bigger stadium. So they went 30K-ish. And so they will have that size thing that kind of we have on Columbus right now. Like, like if it's in Ohio, I think we get it just because we were smart enough to build our stadium bigger than Columbus. And so that's going to give us some edge. But Nashville's going to try to really bully us with games here in the next 10 years. And so Cincinnati's just going to have to prove we're a better place to play, and then find a way to fix those small things. You're right. Just don't bank on games falling in our laps. Make small changes here and there. And real quick, because we have a lot of fans that are probably going to follow the rest of this cycle, these World Cup qualifiers. The United States is in first now. They are tied with Mexico with 14 points. Canada is in third place with 13 points. Panama stays alive with another win, and really just kind of threatening to get in the group with 11 points. Costa Rica 6, Jamaica 6, El Salvador 6, and Honduras with 3. If you guys had to predict 1, 2, 3, and then just a bonus question, does Panama sneak in? Would love to get your thoughts real quick. We can go with Bill.
Oh, okay, throw it to me first. You're talking about the final, or you're just talking about like
where does this group end up?
He picked the top 3.
Yeah,
for the final at the whole end.
Yeah.
Boy, man, this is really tough. Because I was actually just thinking about like tomorrow, literally tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think there's a halfway decent chance. Canada is looking so good right now. I think there's a halfway decent chance they could beat Mexico, especially because it's home and it's freaking cold up there. So I could see Mexico drop to third tomorrow, and if the U.S. could pull out a win against Jamaica, which, wouldn't be, too amazing. Then all of a sudden, I wonder about, Tata and how long he's around, but that's a whole nother thing. For the final, I think, I think the top three is US, Mexico, Canada. I think all three are showing that they're solid teams, and I think they're ahead of the rest of the pack. The order, I'm a little bit unsure on. I'll put US first because I just have faith in us. I'll go on a limb. I'm going to say Canada comes in 2 and Mexico follows with 3.
I like it. We got a viewer on YouTube that agrees with you. Anybody got anything differently? Anybody want to mix that up a little bit?
I'll tell you this. Here's some food for thought. As far as the order, I really don't. I'm really not paying attention to that. But we've basically determined now that it's a 4-way race for the 3 automatic slots. Here's something to ponder. My buddy that I went to the match with, he told me, we all know Mexico's qualifying, right? So we should root for them to beat everybody else except for when U.S. goes to the Azteca. And that way Mexico kind of beats Canada, beats Panama, beats Jamaica, beats everybody. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about rooting for Mexico, but as long as it helps the U.S. qualify, I'm all for it.
So there's a general rule of thumb when it comes to qualifying in CONCACAF that 1.5 points per game should get you into the top 3. That's what, and of course, it's been a hex versus a octagonal, things like that. But that would be 21 points to be the top 3. We win Tuesday versus Jamaica. That gets us to 17 with 6 games to go. So I'd feel very comfortable if we win tomorrow night of advancing to the World Cup. We'll see what happens with Mexico, man. They beat the crud out of everybody else, but have issues with pace, and Canada and USA have that. So I do think it's going to be one of Canada, USA, Mexico in the 3. And I'll tell you what, Panama don't slack on them. I mean, they might be able to pick a game off here or there, but they have to come to the United States now versus us traveling down there. So I'd give us at least an advantage there for them.
Yeah, that was the only hiccup really in this U.S. First big batch. I guess Canada. What do you think, Jeff? Could you see Canada finishing 1? Because it's not impossible, and they've been playing well.
It's going to depend, I think, quite heavily on how they perform against Mexico coming up tomorrow.
It's supposed to be really cold, right?
They're going to have the advantage there for the weather. But I'm trying to look at really all of these games that they have. They have home game against us in January, the home game against Mexico tomorrow. And then the next home game they have is against Jamaica. So that means they'd have to be on the road at Panama, at Costa Rica, at El Salvador, at Honduras. Those are teams that are all in the bottom half or 4th or lower. So I think they can go on the road and take these teams to task. I would not be surprised if you see Canada number 1 at the end of this. In the end, though, it really doesn't matter as long as you're number 3 or higher.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to just run through those possibilities real quick because it is kind of fun to think about and play with. But you're right. USA's got 3 shots. I know we all felt confident last cycle, so let's just win the games we can win, focus on them one at a time, of course, because there is no gimmies once you let your guard down. And the USA, of course, is going to have to get up for a team like Jamaica there's an emotional drop between what they just went through and what they're going to go through. Bryce said it's going to be a much sparsely attended game. And so that's where you dig deep and find your own motivation because there won't be a crowd there to feed you. Real quick, you guys want to talk about TQL Stadium? If Cincinnati is going to host more events like this, there is going to have to be some changes made this offseason, next offseason. If FC Cincinnati was to make playoffs next year or the year after, there's going to have to be some changes made at TQL Stadium. Bathroom lines, concession lines. Some of this is staffing issues, right? But some of it's not. Some of it might just be a little bit of design related. So I kind of wonder if this has opened up the eyes of some of the TQL Stadium and FC Cincinnati vets as to what needs to be done. What do you think, Bill?
We even saw this at the beginning of the season, right? When we first started our home games, and there was still that hope from our fan base. The early games, not the first two where it was limited capacity, obviously, right? But once we were at full capacity, the concourses fill very quickly. The lines are long. The bathrooms are slow. So I think we know we have an issue. I'm not sure what we do with it at this point. I mean, bathrooms are kind of limited. I mean, you can't. I mean, you could bring in porta johns, I guess, and it ends up like Nippert again. But I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Food.
That's what Matt Free had to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be real, guys. The reason the bathrooms were full is because our beer salespeople were superior to anybody else.
Well, and we had some really nice beer, right? I mean,
no, we just drank a ton more. Come on now. I've never been that drunk at a FC Cincinnati game since a long time ago. So, it's a good time. Good time had by all, baby.
No, but I mean, we saw some of that during even, our early FCC days. And I do think there's some issues there. I think the concourse is a bit crowded. I'm not sure how they fix that, honestly. I think food lines, like you said, there's some staffing issues. I think that in general, food was not a success this year at TQL. And without a doubt, I know the club has recognized that. I've spoken to my rep. I've spoken to members of the club. There's without a doubt a recognition that food was a subpar experience. Pretzels, and so I think that will improve, and I think they'll find things. But yeah, I think right now they have to figure out a way to get the flow of people much better in the concourse.
Yeah, we talked about it with the World Cup bid. It's just one of those things just to put in your pocket if you're FC Cincinnati. And we're not being overly critical because I think everybody had the time of their lives on Friday. But it's just one of those things where it's like, if you want to really step it up, let's find ways to make it even better and fix those little small things. I work in the architecture world, granted on the finance side of it, but there are what we call ad services, I guess, where you can kind of go into these projects afterwards and try to spend a bunch of money to make small changes. We like it in the architecture world because it's a way to make additional profit on a job that
you're really hoping Birding's listening to this right now. Trying to get your job.
If Jeff Birding is listening to this GBBN, we're on 8th Street, Jeff. We'll step right in and help you out. Am I allowed to do that, Brian? Am I allowed to self-promo?
You can do whatever you want. You're in the big chair now, big guy.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm going to get your guys' final thoughts before I derail everything completely. Jeff, thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks for sitting in that box for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great experience. I think it definitely showed me a different perspective on what USA World Cup qualification is all about. But I think next time I'm definitely going to be down there for feeling the actual event. I mean, that's one thing that, and this goes into my final thought. One thing that's exciting me about this next weekend is that we're in playoff mode, even though we're not in playoff mode. MLS is starting up again. You've got the USL playoffs are in full session. We've got some rematches from last year that weren't played out for some finals and semifinals. And then the NWSL championship in Louisville. This year, it's the Chicago Red Stars and Washington Spirit. Cool thing about the Spirit is that their goalie, the goaltender, is from the Queen City itself, Aubrey Bledsoe. So you'll be able to go down there and actually cheer for somebody that's local, even though Rose Lavelle isn't in it. But it's stone's throw away down in Louisville on Saturday at noon. Tickets are still available as far as I know.
They hit 8,000 today. So they've got limited tickets, but I would go if I was in town. That's awesome.
Yep, they're affordable, and have a good time this weekend.
Good shout, Mr. Tebbets, of course, keeping us sharp on what soccer's going around regionally. Rob, thanks for coming back on the show. Did you forget how to be a CSTer, or did it come back naturally?
I had to dust off the microphone a little bit, but maybe. I was about to say maybe it'll be the next Dos A Cero, but that might be sometime. So, I'd love to come back every once in a while. We kind of covered what I had pegged as my final thought already about the 4 teams going for 3 slots. So, I guess I'll just say this: I don't have anything profound, but I haven't been on Twitter for the entire month of November. I'm doing what's considered a digital decluttering. I'm not ignoring anybody or anything like that, but I'm spending some time thinking about how I can use social media better for things. It's been kind of helpful and a little eye opening. No mindless scrolling. So I just haven't been, present on Twitter, which has actually been really hard the last week. But I'll be back and I'll see everybody in December.
I guess that's okay as long as you just go to www.cincinnatissoccertalk.com instead of clicking through the tweet like you normally would to find our article, Rob.
There you go.
Brian, thanks for all your help. Give me your final thoughts.
Yeah, I know we kind of labeled this as kind of our, I would say, season-ending show, but there's going to be a lot of news coming. I assume fairly quickly, at least if not after Thanksgiving, the beginning of December. We gotta, I think, make some roster decisions by the end of the month. So I would assume to at least expect several of those. I know Harris is out. We didn't really talk about contract status of Hagland. I think maybe Stanko too, or Jow, one of those guys. So those will happen. We'll cover those as best we can at CST, and we'll try to do some special shows maybe. I know we're talking with Sem DeVitt right now, trying to get a special reintroduction of him onto CST. So stay tuned there. And then, guys, if you have anything you want us to talk about, please email feedback at cincinnatissoccertalk.com. And we are wide open to, talking those things. Not to invite just any random people on, but, we've had listeners come on the show in the past, and, we're about getting people together. So if you have some cool ideas, let us know, and we're open to film this off season. It's going to be a short off season, thank goodness, and no CBA negotiations, which is great. But and let us know what we can do to keep you interested during the winter months here.
Mr. Bill Wolf, you had an absence. You've been back, and I bet you're looking forward to life slowing down just a tad.
Oh yeah, when does that happen? It's been busy. Work's been a little crazy. Not doing any fun architecture stuff like you, but yeah, more busy than I'd like to be. But yeah, I'll take a little break from soccer. That'll probably help me, focus a little bit more and maybe get caught up there, and then I can come back full swing on the soccer stuff in February, right? Final thoughts. I already said it, but I'll repeat it again. U.S. soccer's coming back. This was a home run. This was out of the park kind of situation. There's no doubt that they walked away over the moon about this. And, Berhalter, the team, the organizers of this event, everybody, was happy with how this turned out. We're going to get another event. It's just a question of which one and how soon. So prepare. It won't be this, we're not going to get another US Mexico. But we'll have some fun events. We're going to see this team back. We're going to get opportunities. We have certainly made an impression on U.S. soccer, on these players. And, let's be honest as well. We raised the capital for FC Cincinnati, right? I mean, for any of these players, anybody who is watching this game, they've seen the city, they've seen the facilities, and they, if they were wondering, what is Cincinnati worth playing for? Our record speaks for itself. But now we have something else with maybe a different message that's a little more positive.
Yeah, and that could very well be needed. Thanks, Bill, for coming back on the show. Appreciate all our co-hosts tonight. If you couldn't enjoy the show because you heard us talk about the season 6 finale at the top of the hour and have been stressing about where we're going, Brian missed it. Or Brian mentioned it earlier. We are as bummed as you are during big off seasons with MLS strikes or big drafts when we are coming into Major League Soccer. We had a little bit more to work with. That will start to happen, of course. Things will pick back up. But we are expecting a little bit of a quiet period. And so in that time, we are going to give our staff a little bit of a break. So we may not be releasing episodes every single week, but we will be keeping up to date with all the news, all the roster changes, the new signings, the releasing of players. Expect that pretty soon as FC Cincinnati has done what some other teams have already done, which is let those players go. So We will be covering everything on CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. And if the club gives us enough news to fill a 1-hour show with, then you can expect us to do some special winter bonuses. And then we will take anything you guys have suggestion-wise, as Brian mentioned, as well. These guys, though, this staff has found 100 different ways to write about FC Cincinnati, despite them having similar results all season. So we want to give them a little rest to recharge, and all of you as well listening, a little time to build your FCC Season 4 and Major League Soccer anticipation. That hope, that hype will start to build as this offseason progresses, and together we can launch into Season 7 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Thanks to all the supporters, the listeners that check us out each and every week, everybody on Patreon. Thanks for paying the bills and letting CST exist in the way it does. We do have big plans in the works. We look forward to sharing what we have in store for 2022. But for now, signing off for my co-hosts, our amazing writers and photographers, we love you. And in the words of the man that brought you to the start of Season 6, watch your tackles.